Welcome to College Volleyball Weekly on volleyballmag.com, powered by P1440. Thanks for clicking or tapping in. Now here's your host, Rob Espero, also known as Rob on the Mic.
First topic, our bonus content for College Volleyball Weekly, episode number 3, Hawaiian Heat in Chicago. What did this last weekend define for Hawaii, in your guys' opinions, as coaches?
Well, I think, for sure they got Chaz. He was playing some this weekend. Super talented kid. You saw him come out and do some great things for them. So, ultimately they've got a couple pieces there that they've been able to put in. You saw their other setter come in for Thiel and do a great job of running the offense for them. So you were wondering, hey, we saw this first group, but then they got tested against, a couple of ranked teams and had to move a couple pieces and ultimately came out with 2 big wins in 4, even when the cold was turned up on them. Do you know what I mean, in terms of that? So.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you look at Gassman and Boston, the two-headed monsters in the middle. They're both doing a nice job of controlling people and putting some balls down. Gage Worsley is arguably the best libero in the country and is doing such nice things, keeping them in system. I thought the question mark really is, and you hit it, Dan, is the setter position. They have 2 pretty darn good setters and maybe a third in the wings that's not really getting much time, but which one of those 2 is going to be the guy that they're going to lean upon? I think they both bring different things to the table. One's a giant lefty who can swing on a tight pass, and the other one's just a really solid, good, and I call him a hurler because he's putting balls in good spots. He's not necessarily creative, but he's just putting balls in really good spots, and that's, when you're a hitter, that's what you need. And Chaz Galloway, how about that kid coming out of nowhere, stepping on the court and just finding a way to find the floor? So, yeah, Hawaii looks pretty strong. They're going to be in the hunt for sure as the year goes on.
Well, Hawaii after this weekend goes to 7-0, but one of the things I was watching is up until this last weekend, Rado Parapunov has been pretty much silent. He's been contributing, but he went big this weekend, 24 and 22 kills on each night. So I feel like this weekend will be the rise of the Bulgarian beast come rest of the play of the season.
Yeah, I watched both matches, and that kid is an absolute beast. I mean, he just goes up and hits that ball so hard, and even if it does get past your block, and it goes towards one of your defenders, it's coming at you so fast and it's so tough to control. So yeah, he definitely I think he found his rhythm a little bit, and with any hitter, and Dan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but with any hitter, to find a rhythm with your setter is where you really start to make some inroads and start to make some progressional things happen. But, when you're changing setters back and forth, it's tough to find that rhythm. But it seems to me that he's found his rhythm with both those guys.
Yeah, I think he's taken some big growth steps in that area. I think about watching him last year, the year before, and, ultimately he would kind of make some errors. But, 2 different setters, really got a lot of range and both sidelines, and he's bringing heat on top of that. And he was tough to stop. We'd try to move out or move on him, and he'd find another edge here. And it was really, I think, more impressed with the out-of-system sets he was getting, and then he was creating kills. And so, credit to him. He came in and stepped it up when he was challenged and did it very, very effectively.
Well, let's step to our next one. Our other team, who is number 2 in the current AVCA poll, it's the BYU Cougars, who had 2 matches in North Carolina. They were cruising in Carolina, but obviously we knew what the result was probably going to be. You have a MPSF team against a Conference Carolinas team, but I feel like something much bigger happened at that venue because that conference and that community was exposed to top-tier volleyball. And I feel like there's an excellent energy, at least from the stream. You could hear the commentator. There is an excitement in the gym. But what does a team gain from playing out in different places where you're going to probably get the win and volleyball isn't as known?
Well, you've seen it happen a couple times in recent years. I'll give you a few examples. One, obviously with BYU going out to Mount Olive. Hawaii last year went out to Queens, which is also North Carolina. You got UCLA going to Damon this year. And so, you're right. Coaches of both teams are pretty aware of who's going to win, at least going into it. They're not, you always want to believe in your team if you're the underdog. But let's be honest, it's a pretty tough hoe to go from that point. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to build momentum for your team. When you see things done in your gym, you take that stuff back to your practice gym and you start to emulate what you're seeing. If you see a team running really fast on the pin or running a fast pick, or maybe the middles are taking balls quickly out of the setter's hands, you're taking that back to your gym and your guys are seeing if they can recreate that stuff because it works, obviously. And so you're creating a hype around your program, obviously, because the fans now get to see what's going on in their gym, but your players are gaining much needed experience. And that's huge. And because of the MPSF and the Big West split, now you're seeing this vacuum of scheduling. And so these teams now from the out west, the traditional powerhouses, are now starting to move out across to the east. And the East Coast teams are benefiting from that. And by no means am I saying that Mount Olive is all of a sudden going to be as good as BYU because they were in their gym. But Mount Olive is going to improve because they've seen a high level of play in their gym, and those players are now going to be able to start to recreate what they've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, Jay's spot on with all of that. I think you've seen, as we've added teams, it is so important that the top 10, the top 15 teams, all of those teams travel and get into those venues of those young programs. Because the fans get exposed to these high-level athletes and this high-level volleyball. Those programs themselves get better. There's just so much that goes into it, and the ability to do that has fostered the growth. I was just recruiting this weekend in Chicago, and they would run that tournament and have a couple hundred teams boys volleyball. They have 500 club teams in this tournament now. Do you know what I mean? And all that is that growth piece that we're talking about, which has been really great. And so. Again, I think great that BYU is going out there. Great that Mount Olive is hosting them and putting on a good show and just continues to help the growth of our game.
And I'll piggyback on that because you're seeing such a large growth of boys playing volleyball. The top, 25 players of old that would go to all the powerhouse teams, and then it would kind of trickle down with everybody afterwards. In the last 5 to 7, 8 years. Now that top 25 is now becoming a top 60, maybe 70 players that are really good players. Mm-hmm. More of them are going to more programs. And then the next tier down is not that far. And what's happening is that you're starting to see, that the traditional powerhouses are getting their blue chip kids still, but the really good players at that next level are starting to look at a Mount Olive or a Damon or a McKendree or, someone else in the Conference Carolinas. And they're saying, wait a minute, I can go there and play right now. And we're going to play some good teams over the course of the year. And those programs are going to start to get good players starting to trickle in. And then their program's really going to start building because now when you have good players in the gym playing good players, that's when progression really starts. And so, hats off to USA Volleyball for over the years starting to build the grassroots. Really big hats off to all the clubs around the country that are expanding, hiring great coaches, adding more teams and more opportunities. Now we got to see First Point really, really get up to the ball and say, now let's go after some big D1 programs. And once you get one big D1 name, the rest of them are going to start come calling. That's what's going to happen.
Excellent. Great breakdown. Let's jump into our next week of matches for week 4. Pick 2 that you guys are going to be watching. I can go and start and give you guys some time. So I'm going to go and grab this one, but I'll let you guys break it down, being that I'm just the announcer type guy. I'm going to be at BYU at UC Irvine because I work there. But
Shocker!
It's also a big match. It's always a great pleasure to have BYU in the house. They fill the Bren Center, and it's a loud and raucous crowd, but we know that in the end, it's all for good fun. And honestly, I haven't seen Gabby since the Norseka Champions Cup in the summer, and he was playing phenomenally there. He seems like he's playing even better. I wonder what that looks like in person now because he's just gotten so much stronger. The other match I'm going to be watching is going to be the USC at Penn State at the Penn State tournament. The reason why is because USC is on a 4-match losing streak, and this isn't a USC team that I'm used to seeing. I want to see how they respond after this 4-match losing streak, especially coming up against a very hot Penn State team with the arisen 3-headed beast. So, who's next?
Well, I'll go. Hey, ultimately, I want to see your match, of course, the UCI BYU. And you guys play twice, right, Rob? Isn't that right? Those 2 of those?
Wednesday
Yeah.
and
So
Friday.
it'll be exciting to see how those 2 matches go. But I got Purdue, Fort Wayne, and NJIT. It's kind of the international game. You know what I mean? It's got a bunch of international players, so it's going to be exciting to see from that standpoint. And so I'm certainly looking forward to that. And then I think another one for me is Ohio State. Are they legit? I mean, they're playing SC. I got 2 of them there, SC and UCLA. And we've seen Ohio State have some new pieces, and they're certainly off to a good start. And, they're going to have these two matches where they're going to be tested. And how do these guys respond, and how does that those volleyball matches go? The other thing is we've got this Lindenwood tournament. I got one other match, and it's UCSD and McKendree. This is going to be a great match. We got a very well-coached team in McKendree, and Serrano's setting them. We got the new guy, Kyle, we're talking a bunch about. And how do these two teams go in a neutral site, and how do they compete? So,
yeah, you guys covered all the ones that I've got already. I got to come up with a higher list. All right, so I'm going to piggyback. I'm going to have my two, but I'm going to piggyback just to say the PFW NJIT match is going to be great because NJIT I think is legit this year. Purdue Fort Wayne obviously has Pellegrin Vargas, but I want to know who else is going to step up around Pellegrin and see if maybe NJIT can't control him. They got a really live arm on the opposite position, Polish kid who's a freshman, and the kid is German kid, no Polish kid, ridiculous. And obviously they have their outside hitter, Gemetto, who is really, really good. That's going to be a great match. Obviously, Ball State and Purdue Fort Wayne are coming to our house. We're excited about those. But the matches that I want to see USC versus Ohio State, because Ohio State is a team that has not played very big teams yet. They've not been pushed, and USC is licking their wounds a little bit. And I want to see if Ohio State is for real, and I want to see if USC is able to step up and figure some things out. The other one I'm going to be watching, McKendree Grand Canyon. That's another great matchup. Grand Canyon with Gianni obviously on the outside. And McKendree's got a couple of kids that just step up and ball. McKendree is so well coached. Nikki Sandlin does such a fantastic job. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Those are the teams and the matches that I'm going to be watching the most.
Excellent. Well, again, our Coaching Consortium of Intelligence. Before we part, I wanted to say congratulations to St. Francis College in Brooklyn getting their first program win ever in their second attempt.
Yes.
They were led by David Vorfe's 13 kills. Oh, there we go. We've got no recruiting violations, though, from what I understand.
Oh.
I also want to say and while you guys are holding up your school's merchandise there, also congratulations to Coach Matt Worley of Grand Canyon to become the winningest coach in Grand Canyon history. Nice. And also Grand Canyon middle blocker Ian McLean set the individual match hitting percentage record, hitting .857, 12 kills, 0 errors on 14 attempts against UCSD on Saturday night.
Dan Worley is the second best dressed coach behind me in NCAA men's volleyball, just so you guys know.
The real question will be, will anybody walk slower than Dan on the sidelines? That's the real question. For those of you that know Dan, you'll know he is not flight of foot.
No, it's at no time. So.
All right. Again, Dan Friend, Jay Hosick, thanks for taking time with College Volleyball Weekly again. Look forward to catching up next week, and good luck in your matches this week.
Thanks for checking out College Volleyball Weekly on volleyballmag.com, powered by P1440. Be sure to follow volleyballmag.com on the web and social media.